Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cup of Joe with Joe and Joe podcast. I am your host, Joe, and with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Joe.
Ladies and gentlemen, no Attack on Titan this week.
No, we understand
Earthquakes.
why
Earthquakes.
there
There were earthquakes.
was earthquakes. We're very sorry to everyone. We hope everyone is okay. Yeah, that's the episode. Okay, goodbye.
Rip. Done.
So, in lieu of not having an episode this week, we decided we'd just talk about some stuff that we were a little bit more passionate about in the anime dome
Hentai.
circle community. Yes, exactly.
It's about time for that hentai review. Been waiting for it.
So tentacles, yay or nay?
Not a big fan, but thick casa.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean that goes without saying.
Yeah.
This is going to be the most cultured episode of the anime edition to date. Episode 21.3, the most cultured episode. Write that shit down. Write that down, intern. I have an intern now.
No, that was one of the other Joes in the closet.
Well, yeah, but I promoted him to intern Joe.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you got to give him a little bit of a chance. They've been starting to wonder, like when is the League of Joes actually going to come into play? And I'm just like, yeah, we'll get there. It's a slow burn, like Attack on Titan. But too much water in my mouth. We're gonna put it on hiatus for like a week.
Did the water not want to be got?
I was taking just a sip, and I have a plastic brick in front of me. Yes, the water did not want to be got in those exact words. Where's your car? I had the sudden urge to vomit.
Moving on. This week, since Japan had that earthquake and all that stuff, we can't just not post an episode. Who are we? So we're talking about Burn the Witch. No, not the song and music video by Radiohead, even though that's pretty cool stuff. We're talking about the one-shot manga by Tite Kubo, or Tite Kubo, I don't know. I call him Tite Kubo because he's tight, yo. God, that's not going to age well.
Dope, yo.
Oh, God.
I'm hip with the kids, you dig?
And he is the creator of a little anime that Joseph and I enjoy called the Bleach. Black. Which is quite fantastic, and it's great. I love it. Even the Bount arc. Yes, Joe, I said it.
You can have your opinions. I will let you have your opinions. My opinion is that it's useless and I hate it, but whatever. But yeah, so we're just going to be talking a little bit about that, and probably also about Bleach, because I'm still in the midst of the Waco Mundo arc that I'm just like casually going through.
Clarify. Rewatching it.
Yeah, rewatching it. I've already seen it like 3 or 4 times. This is rewatch 4 or 5 or something like that. But yeah, so it's just, I was like, this is on my mind, so why don't we just talk a little bit about that? Yeah, so just straight off the bat, Joe, opinions on Burn the Witch. I want to call it a extended pilot. It was really what I want to call it, because it's 3.
Yeah, that's what it is.
20-ish minutes episodes. Yeah,
that's 100% what it is, and I want more. This. So I mean, man, Bleach fans have been dying for something, anything. Like any little Bleach thing that came out, everybody jumped on it. Once the anime got canceled and we finished with the Fullbringer arc, but Thousand Year Blood War was then being written in the manga, which has been finished up, and the manga's all done. Everybody's wondering, like, are we going to get that animated? And it was always, every year there was like, oh, rumor, it's going to be released this year, and it just never happened. And since then, we've had little things released. We've had light novels that Tite Kubo has written that gives a little bit of background. Even the video games, Bleach Brave Souls, you get a little bit of not new info, but some of the characters from the Thousand Year Blood War arc actually are in that game, and just little things that any Bleach fan was dying for. And then we found out, what is this, 2 years ago now, I think?
Something like
Um,
that, yeah.
yeah, I think we found out 2 years ago that Tite Kubo he wrote this one shot, this one shot manga that was showing up in Shonen Jump called Bird the Witch, which actually it is the name is from the Radiohead song. He likes that song, and he just wanted to call it that. Look it up.
Yeah, he
It's
seems like a
true.
Radiohead fan.
Oh yeah. And so everybody's freaking out, like, "Oh my God, it's Bleach!" Like and yes, it is Bleach, but it isn't. This takes place in the same exact world, but there are no familiar characters. You're not seeing Ichigo. You're not seeing Rukia, and it came out as a one shot book in Shonen Jump, and one shots are pretty much like they're pilots, like Joe said. Like if it does well, then it will get serialized and all that stuff. And it did well, and it ended up becoming pretty popular. It's a pretty cool story, and then it got serialized, but not for long, only for like I think 4 to 5 chapters. I forget the exact details. We don't know too much. I don't get too much info about it uh, on the in the U.S. because there's like no English version of it. Like for the because I wanted to buy the actual physical copy of the book and you just can't do it. Like it's all in Japanese. Um, so that kind of sucks. But basically, it had like a couple of pilots over in Japan. It did well. It got some traction, and it actually what we found out in oh my goodness, Joe, a year ago we found this out. This is crazy. Um,
Yeah.
this is wild. I didn't realize this a year ago when Joe and I were in New Zealand. We found out that Bleach is. They made an announcement that the Bleach anime is going to be coming back, like an actual announcement, which is crazy. And they announced that Burn the Witch is going to get animated, which a lot of people thought was going to be another series, but it turned out to be this like movie, 3 chapter movie type of thing, which just animated the all the manga that had been written leading up to it. And they put it on Crunchyroll everywhere, and Joe and I watched it, and I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like incredible. It's not like the next it's not like the greatest thing since sliced toast or anything like that, but it is awesome seeing some of Tite Kubo's design like character designs.
Oh, the
It's
clothes,
just
man.
it's so clean and awesome. Nini, I fucking love Nini. Like her character design is incredible with like the way her hair falls and the little like devil horns on the headband. Awesome. And I'm gonna forget his name. I'm trying to look up the character names. Do you remember what Grim
The
Jow ripoff was?
I was just gonna call him Grimjow Skin.
Yeah, let's just call him that. The Grim. Anyone who knows what we're talking about, they know exactly what we're talking about. The Grim
Wow,
Jow
Joe,
ripoff.
that was anybody who knows what we're talking about
They know
knows
what we're
what we're
talking about.
talking about.
Move past it. Move past it. We gotta keep this train of chugging along, Joe. Um, he's awesome. He starts off as like a villain of sorts, or like an antagonist, I'll call him, and you don't really like him. And then a bigger actual villain comes along, and you're like, oh shit. And then he actually turns out to be really fucking cool. And they use magic in this realm. To explain a little bit more, it takes place in London, but not the London you know. Reverse London. It's like London, but you pulled out your reverse Uno card and then you kind of like threw it on the ground, and then all of a sudden, bada bing, bada boom, you're in Magic London now, which is called Reverse London. And in Reverse London, it's just like a place where I guess like wizards and witches and like more magical stuff can actually exist. And our two characters, Ninny and Noelle, um, they are they fully fledged witches? I think they are, right?
Yes, yes, they're witches.
Yeah, they're witches, and they go around. And dragons are the big antagonists of this world. They're kind of like the mythical beasts that are the biggest threat. It's like the
They're
analog for
the
hollows.
yes. I was about to say it's their equivalent of hollows.
Yes, but I think it's immediately cooler and more fleshed out than uh, hollows were back in like the Bleach anime and stuff like that, because you
Really?
had yeah, because in these three, so let's say in the first I don't know, 10 to 20 episodes of the Bleach anime, you're kind of fighting like standard hollows, and like yeah, there are more powerful hollows, but the highest up as far as like hollow development you go is you find out there are like Menos Grande, which are like those really big creepy looking guys, but you never really see them. Like they pop out once and Ichigo is kind of defeats it, and then it goes back into its hole. In this,
Maybe let me clarify. Maybe I get what you're saying with like the actual like what a hollow is. I was thinking more like I remember again, this could just be me. I watched this show when I was like 13, 14. The idea of what a hollow is and how it's a lost soul with the chain and everything, and how if it isn't like sent to the Soul Society in time, like I don't know, I thought that was really cool. But what you're saying is more like I guess I don't know, the would it be the phylogeny? No, it wouldn't be the phylogeny. The categorization and like the diversity of hollows compared to these dragons. Yes, I think the dragons are a bit cooler.
yeah, and the thing with the dragons is like you have a wider range of cool stuff you can do. Kind of, but like the thing that I mostly want to talk about is the mythology behind them, and mostly the biggest antagonist that pops up in this is Cinderella. And when I say Cinderella, I don't mean standard Cinderella. I mean awesome, badass moon dragon Cinderella.
Big
Who,
chicken.
big, big chicken. This is like winged dragon of raw chicken esque size.
If
you
Winged
know?
Dragon Ara and Lugia had a baby.
Yes. Holy shit. That's very close. But yes, and it's awesome. And it might just be because I'm in the Waco Mundo arc, so now I'm so used to seeing so many fucking hollow designs, and they're all white and like they have the mask and all that sort of shit. But seeing colorful dragons, I'm just like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. There's not an ounce of like constant white on you guys that's like the hollow mask or whatever. It's just like, nope, we're dragons, we can do whatever the fuck we want with dragons. There's a dragon dog in this show. Like, what the fuck is up with that?
Yeah, pretty cool. And Joe, I wanted to text you earlier. As I was driving home today, I passed a car that had a Bleach Hollow Ichigo license plate.
A license plate? What the
Yeah,
fuck does that look like?
the front license plate was just like, you know how I have my Flyers one in front of mine,
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
it was basically, I mean, you've seen what my my playmat, my old playmat looks like, where it's like it's like the half of the hollow mask and it's kind of like faded. It looks like it's like
Yeah.
almost like being reflected on water. It was basically that on like a black background, and I was like, Ichigo!
Fellow weeb, yes.
Turned straight into the car. Let me take a picture.
I need a picture for posterity's sake. Yeah. But what was I talking about? Oh, dragons. Yeah, I just think they're really fucking cool, and the mythology behind them, I really like it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes, yes, and I will say the two witches in this story, I love their personalities, and only their personalities,
Only
nothing else.
because it would be disrespectful.
I love personality. What do you
Yeah, they
think?
are really cool.
They're pretty cool, and I like their boss. Their boss is pretty cool, and
Oh, I fucking love him. I don't
They're
even care
a-
that he's in a Keyskate ripoff. I fucking love him.
oh, he's a little cool. I think he's cooler than a. I don't, actually, no, I like a Keyskate. I don't know. They're both kind of cool.
Keyskate's awesome.
And I also like the designs of whoever these. I don't know. I guess they're the equivalent of the Gote 13.
Yeah.
They're kind of cool. Definitely. I mean, it has Bleach vibes because it takes place in the same world. This takes place in the West Branch of the Soul Society, which we find out at the end. I don't know what that means with regards to the geography of the Soul Society, which is basically
Yeah.
heaven. Like I said, been a while since I watched this show, but it was the first anime I ever actually watched, so it kind of stuck with me. and it's 366 episodes, so you kind of have to follow along. Um, but
Not
I
like
don't
About
know.
Dark.
Okay, Joe, we're not.
It's completely forgotten.
Yeah, I know. But this story's kind of cool, and I hope we get more. I want to get access to the actual manga because that's just the collector in me. Um, and I don't know. I mean, this all seems really cool, and with it's looking like the whole Bleach anime should be coming out in 2022. Which I'm fine with. Take as much time as you want. I've waited long enough. I could wait another 10 years. Not really. Please, just get it
No,
out
no,
to me.
please. Give it to me. Yeah, I would. God, I'm just sitting here thinking about it because as I'm watching it right now, I'm noticing, the difference between how anime was made 10 years ago versus how it's made now between stuff like Attack on Titan, My Hero, and shit like that. And seeing the amount of still frames and wonky anatomy and also the aspect ratio because it's still like a 4:3 aspect ratio in the older stuff in Bleach. I'm like, eh. It's like weird to me.
Oh, yeah,
But
no, the only thing that it has going for it, like when I see that stuff and I'm like, "Oh, it's nostalgic. I remember watching this." Like if I had never seen Bleach and I started watching it now, I'd be like, "Ooh, this is kind of rough."
yeah, definitely. It's definitely a factor of its time or a relic of its time. Where I think it's still the core of it, at least the first like 40 some odd episodes, like the Soul Society arc and Saving Rukia and all that. That stuff is solid. Like there's obviously filler in it as there is with most anime. It might be a little bit slow going in the beginning, but once you actually like start moving, you start moving pretty well. So I would say the first 50-ish episodes are still like that's like I don't want to say classic, but like almost classic anime. Like if you like stuff like that, go for it. You like guys screaming a lot and slashing swords and doing all this stuff. Not the innuendo. It's real swords. It's not dicks.
Joe,
It's great.
nobody was thinking that.
I'm clarifying. It sounded like an innuendo to
Self.
me.
God.
Yeah, but it's cool. And going through like this stuff now, I'm just looking at it and I'm like, man, this might be really cool if it was remade. And now thinking about how like the Thousand Year Blood War arc is something that they're actually producing right now, I'm like, oh my god! Like in my mind, I'm just thinking about how cool some of it could look. Because for all the criticism Fullbringer arc gets, um, it looks pretty cool. Like
Yes.
the
Yes.
final couple of episodes I watched when he's fighting Ginjo, I think is
I
his
think
name.
that's correct. Yes, yes.
Yeah, and there's nothing more badass than when Ichigo strikes at him. It is early on in their fight, and then he gets hit by like this wave, and Ginjo just goes, "Ha! If that was your strongest attack, you got a real bad problem on your hands." And then Ichigo just drops behind him, and he's just like, "That was the force of my swing." And he's like, and then he does an actual Getsuga Tensho and fucking fires that shit, and he cuts a building in half and then parts the skies. And then Ginjo is just like, I just pooped a little on my pants.
Dude, oh man. Yeah, I'm so much stuff that I know I'm going to be freaking out about. Like I keep referencing the or at least I referenced it before like when I watched that when you watched the Adventure Time ending with me and how like full on fangirl I went, like when I see Ichigo for the first time, I'm gonna fangirl so much. I'm gonna freak out. I'm gonna freak out with that. I'm gonna freak out when Attack on Titan's over. Um, oh my goodness, so much stuff that I'm like, just give it to me, please.
Yeah, really. It's so funny thinking about that because it's like when Attack on Titan will be ending soon. So it's like we'll be in a very similar place. But when Bleach comes back, we're not going to be. Well, I'm probably not going to be at Arcadia anymore. You will still will be, but you'll be there as a graduate. And it's like thinking about that, like where we'll be in our lives, and thinking back to what I might have been, like what I thought my older self would have been like as, a 10, 12-year old or whatever. I'm just like, the general consensus is the older you get, the more you grow out of like the nerdiness and all that sort of crap. But I'm kind of realizing the older I get, the stronger connection I sort of make to this stuff, and I just am like, no, I love it more now, and I want more of it.
Exactly. I completely agree. It's because you don't need to be. I mean, there's no reason to be ashamed about it, but you don't really care about what other people think anymore. Or at least,
Yeah,
I mean, even if you said when you were younger you didn't care, like no matter what, like you probably still cared a little bit. Um, like no matter how much of a punk I am, I didn't want to let people know I played Yu-Gi-Oh. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
um, it's just the way it is. But like, yeah, when you get older, like this stuff is awesome. Like it's really good, and you just enjoy it. And it's one of those things that makes you feel like a kid again.
yeah. And it's awesome just to be able to mini burp. Sorry, it's awesome just to kind of be able to have the confidence because you have either a community or a friend or just the support from others to know that it's fine, or just yourself, your own self confidence to be like, yeah, I like this thing, I'm putting it out there, that sort of a thing. And
Joe, I just realized something. I finished Bleach when I first started watching Attack on Titan.
whoa.
I'm dead serious. I'm 100% serious. It was 2013, 2014, because I had started watching Bleach when I was in like seventh grade, and that was like 2011, 2012, and then I didn't finish it. I think till the summer going into my freshman year of high school, and I think that's also I think I started watching Attack on Titan right after that.
God, how did you find out about Bleach? Like, what turned you on to it in the first place?
I think I actually told you this before, in passing, but I was watching a YouTube video, a Yugi tube of a Yugi tuber,
Yes.
and he was opening a pack, like a booster box with like all the packs and stuff. And I would literally you watch this guy just open card packs. Like it sounds boring, but it's actually entertaining.
I did the
Um,
same thing.
and so you're watching him, and he opens it with a knife that's a Zanpakuto. And
Yes.
I didn't notice what it was until he said something. He goes, "Oh, and I saw you guys last episode were commenting on my Zanpakuto. You know me, I'm a big Bleach fan." And he's like, "Actually, I'll show you this new playmat I got." And he showed the Bleach playmat, and it was of Halo Ichigo. And I was like,
And
"Whoa, that looks
Joe's
sick."
Joe's little brain was like, I'm in.
Yeah, I was like, Bleach. And I went down in the comments and everybody's talking about how they're like, oh, Bleach is such a great show and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, man. And then I looked it up and it finally hit me. Like, I had watched anime beforehand. Like, I had seen Dragon Ball, seen Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! And I was like, what? I'm like, but it didn't hit me that, like, watching anime is like you pick a show and you watch all the episodes and then you move on to the next one. It's just a never ending cycle. And so I found this website called, it was just like bleach.net or something. I forget what it was, but it was just some streaming service that had all 366 episodes. And I was like, you know what? I guess I can just watch this first one. And I also remember all the ads popping up on the side and be like, oh, my mom can't see that. Um, and I watched the first episode and I thought it was sick when Rukia kind of shoves the Zanpakuto through him and he transforms. And I was like, whoa, this seems really cool.
Look how big his sword is.
Yeah.
His
It,
actual sword, not his dick.
oh, God.
Have to clarify.
Oh, goodness. But I thought it was awesome. I was like, wow. And I just stuck with it. I remember getting my friends hooked with it. And when I finished it, I didn't cry. But I remember going down to my mom, because my mom, I always told her, I'm like, yeah, I'm watching this show called Bleach. And I remember even for art class, I drew a picture of Ichigo, like his face. I went on YouTube and looked up how to draw him and stuff. And my mom's like, "Oh, what's up?" I'm like, "Mom, I just finished the show." She goes, "Wow, how many episodes?" I'm like, "It was like 366." She goes, "Oh, wow, that's crazy." I'm like, "Mom, I don't know what to do." She's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I'm lost."
Does life continue on from here? I
And
don't
then
know.
and then that's when I got my weeb stamp.
They came over to your house and they're like, "Hello, little boy," and then wham, they just stamped you right on the forehead. and then they
Yes.
left
No,
like a ghost in the wind.
they handed me some head tie and said, "All right, time for the big stuff."
All right, you made it past step one. Here's step two. They just drop like a pile, like a newsprint pile of and dying. Like, good luck, bye. And then right before he's, oh, you probably need this, and he like drops off a box of tissues and like a thing of lotion. And he's like, okay, bye. I never stick around for what happens next.
Joe, how did you find out about Bleach?
I found out about Bleach through a volunteer program at my library. It's something called SAIL. I don't remember what it stands for. You go to the library in the summer, a bunch of kids, and you put on like the programs. I don't know if your libraries do this or not, but we'll
Yep,
have
I
like
did
little
it.
games and activities.
I did
Yeah.
it. It was a science one because I always love the science stuff, so we would do science experiments.
Hmm.
There was an art one, and then I think there was one more. Like it was because our library is right next to like the firehouse, and I think we did some form of like sports or something. I don't remember the specifics.
Yeah. Ours was just activities, like fun shit for kids to do. So we would just plan that sort of stuff and put it on. But you met like a couple times a week, and so during a lot of the meetings, it's a bunch of high school and middle school aged kids all mixed together. So you can imagine how productive a lot of those meetings were. But oh, this wasn't a meeting. This was the end of year party because we were putting on. So we were somewhat productive. But they rolled out like the TV like a teacher does back in elementary school. Like, okay, kids, we're gonna watch Bill Nye. Hey. But instead of Bill Nye, one of the kids in the group was just like, oh, yo, let's put this on because I've never, well, I've rarely come into contact with a group of so many people who were so nerdy. And I think I have them to thank for a lot of the nerdiness that I love now because so many of them were into stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Bakugan and Beyblade and all that stuff that I really loved as a kid as well. And like having that group of them to play that stuff with was awesome. But one of the high schoolers was like, yo, I'm gonna put this stuff on because like I think this is my favorite run of episodes or something like that. And they put it in, and it's the episode I distinctly remember it because I remember seeing the sword and being like, what the fuck is that? It's the episode where Ichigo is facing off against Reggie for the final time as an enemy. And like Reggie's sword is like going all extendo mode and it's like a snake serpentining around. And I remember seeing that and being, what the fuck is this? Because I remember distinctly Ichigo from when I used to get Shonen Jump as like a 5-year-old, and I remember getting a CD back then, and I put it into the computer, and I remember watching episode one, and I'd only ever seen episode one when I was like 5 or 6, and then I never followed up on it because I was 6. I didn't know how the fuck to find this show. I didn't even really care about it. I was like, okay, on to the next thing. But then seeing this, I saw him, and I was like, that's the guy from that thing I got in Shonen Jump. So I went back home, and this must have been like 2012 or 2013. It was like my later middle school years. And I went on, hang on, I still have it right here. My iPod Touch from 2011. And I get on this thing. I'm looking at the screen. The screen is about the size of the palm of my hand, which is hilarious. And I go onto my YouTube app and I type in Bleach, and I watch basically the first 300 episodes of Bleach on YouTube.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was back when you could still find all that sort of crap, like completely just ripped straight from whatever service, put up on YouTube, dubs and subs. I would spend hours for Bleach and Dragon Ball. I would spend hours searching for dubs because I hated reading subtitles. I still do. Like I much prefer a dub as long as it's like a quality dub. But I just remember spending hours just typing in Bleach episode blah blah blah, Bleach episode blah 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 in English, Bleach episode blah 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 in English full episode. Like you just try so many ways to follow. That's how I found out about YouTube channels. I was like, wait a minute, if I just go into this thing, this person has all the episodes in chronological order, and if they didn't, I'd find someone else who had them. So it was just that was me entering the rabbit hole of YouTube. It was because of Dragon Ball and Bleach.
That's a great story. That's awesome. I love that. That's super super cool. I was gonna say it's funny how similar our paths were when we were younger because I very much did the same exact thing with YouTube. I did it for Bleach. I did it for Death Note. Like a bunch of times because sometimes the links on the website would never work. And I'm like, let me just go to YouTube.
Mm.
And yeah, that's how I found out about YouTube channels and stuff like that. It's wild that you could still get away with it. And I remember the reason I thought about YouTube is actually when I was younger, even before that. I remember playing Bakugan with friends, and we were watching. We would always watch, every Saturday or Sunday morning, whatever. Watch the episodes on Cartoon Network that came out. Um, and I
Yeah.
remember my one friend coming up to me, he'd be like, "Yo, Alice is Masquerade," and I was like,
That
"What?"
was that
I'm
was
like,
the coolest. That Yugi using the Seal of Ori Calcos and then losing to Raphael, like those are top 10 anime moments of my childhood right there.
"Yeah," and I was like, "No, no, she's not. That makes no sense." I'm like, "Masquerade's a dude." He's like, "I just
Alice
saw
has
that."
boobs.
He's like, he's like, I just saw the episode. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, it got released in Japan. And I was like, what do you mean it gets released in Japan? He goes, the show's
Nani?
done. He's like, the show is done in Japan. And I'm like, what do you
Mm.
mean it's done? He's like, there's a whole other season. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I learned that stuff gets released in Japan first when it comes to anime. And then it comes over here. And that, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, everything's already, I'm like, we're like a year behind. He's like, yeah, and just he's like, yeah, we can finish the whole show now. And I remember staying up super late and just watching the rest of the normal Bakugan show um, on YouTube, but we watched subtitles. He goes, yeah, and there's like this new one called New Vestroya, and like I was like, oh my god. I'm like, whoa, they look different. The Bakugan are different, and just it blew
Holy
my
shit,
mind.
this one's a triangle and this one's a trapezoid.
Yeah. No, I remember when my friend came in, I'm like, yo, what is that? I'm like, that's a ripoff. He goes, no, man, it's a trap.
It's a
No.
trap Bakugan.
Oh, God. Little did I know that would be a great joke. Um, yeah, man. So many memories like that. And also, I mean, your story of how you watched Akira, what was it? Was that up in the mountains or was it just at a hotel?
It was my family went on vacation to St. John and we had gotten like a little house thing, and the house had come with like a milk crate full of VHS tapes, and so while everyone else went off to the beach because they wanted to go do that, I was like, I don't want to go to the beach today. I just kind of want to chill out. I was like tired or something. I can't remember. And I just remember leafing through it and finding like I saw the Kira box art, and I was like, this looks cool. So I just put it in the living room, and my mom was in the kitchen just like putting away the groceries for the week or whatever. And I remember just watching it, and specifically the scene where um, uh, who gets the psychic powers? Is that Kaneda?
Say
Or
that
is
again?
Kaneda? Who gets the
No,
psychic
no.
powers? Is it Kaneda or Tetsuo?
Tetsuo!
Tetsuo. Tetsuo's girlfriend. When they run into the gangsters and they rip off her shirt, and it's just full boobs, and I'm just like my eyes kind of bulge, and I'm like, and then I like look over at my mom, and I'm like, she didn't see nothing. Okay, and then I just look back to the TV. I'm like, no, no more boobs. No more boobs. Okay, we're fine.
And Joe played that 5 second part over and over again for
I
years.
burned out the goddamn tape.
But that's a super unique story too. Like I remember, and it's gonna bother me that I can't find it, but I remember one time my grandmom coming over. She would stop by every once in a while, and she's like, "Oh, I have a present for you," and I must be like maybe
And it
like
was
six.
just the boob part of Akira.
I was like 6 or 7, and she hands me this VHS, and I recognize. I'm like, oh, this looks like this is similar to like it's animated and it looks like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon. And so I throw it on, and I watch this little movie called Castle in the Sky,
Mmm.
and I thought it was amazing. And I was like, whoa, this is awesome. And I look at the back of the box, and there's like all these other ones, and I'm like, that seems really cool. And actually, yeah, I think I was like 6 or 7, and then that was in the summer. I think going into my first grade, and during first grade, our teacher showed us Spirited Away, um, and we watched Spirited Away on VHS in the room. I remember everybody else was like creeped out and scared by it, but me and my one friend absolutely loved it. And I was like, "Oh, this is
We're
like
like,
the
we've been
same
jacking
thing."
off to hentai for years. We got this shit in the bag.
I just remember making the connection. I'm like, I think this is like the same thing as Castle in the Sky, like that movie
Hmm.
my grandmom gave me. And it's funny looking back on it now. It's really it's crazy how much like love like obviously anime and like anime and stuff like that is a small part of Japanese culture. But in all honesty, there's so much stuff about Asian Japanese culture that I love, and I think part of it was getting interested in anime when I was younger. Like, there's even if I never watched anime again, I would still be obsessed with Japan and Asian culture.
Oh yeah, totally. Like same with you. My first two Ghibli movies I ever saw were Castle in the Sky and Spirited Away, and they were
If that ain't love, I don't know what is.
I don't know what is, um, but they were given to me or they were shown to me by my dad who has them and I still have them. They're in these clear cases on these completely unrelated CDs because my dad had a friend who would trade movies with people. Like he had like banks of movies and he would like burn movies onto CDs and stuff like that. And so people who would have other movies, he would take them and catalog them and burn them. So he would keep a burned copy and give the original copy back. So he just kept a bank. And so when I was born, or so the story goes. My dad tells me he's just like, yeah, like he gave me these two things because he thought you would enjoy them or something like that. And so I'm just like, holy shit. If you didn't have that friend or if he didn't bother to give those, I don't know what I would be like. Because Spirited Away and Castle in the Sky are like two of the most influential movies of my childhood. And I'm not talking like 7 to 10 years old. I'm talking like 4 to 6. Like I saw those things when I was fucking young, and they have influenced my taste probably ever since then.
That's wild. That's a pretty cool story too. That's yeah, because my
Yeah,
grandmom didn't my
the
grandmom
origins
didn't
of
buy
our anime
Castle in the
stuff is insane.
Sky. When she bought Castle in the Sky, she wasn't like, "Oh, anime for Joey." It was more like, "Oh, she probably saw it on discount when she was going to the grocery
Yeah,
store, and just was like, let me grab this
exactly.
for Joey." That's wild. That oh man, what it's like to be a weeb,
Yeah, it's gotten easier to be a weeb these days. Like now,
right?
it's so easy to just find it. Like Crunchyroll, holy shit, you can find anything you want there. It's like
Did you know
anime.
they got
Yeah,
bought by Funimation?
I think I did know that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome though.
Funimation's going to be the big head honcho in the U.S. when it comes to anime, and I don't know. I'm here for it. It used to be one of those things where I would hate when like my little secret would like blow up, like whether it be a band, a movie, or something. But no, get the anime popular. Anime should be a cool thing. It
Make
is a
the
cool thing.
anime mainstream.
Yes,
Well, some of it can still remain niche.
yes, please. Actually, I totally take that back. Don't make it mainstream. Oh God,
Picasa. Do you
okay,
want that
okay.
mainstream or do you want to keep that niche? You want to keep that under wraps?
We're gonna keep that niche. That's gonna be we're gonna keep that into like a 10-person circle. All right, Joe, get us out of here.
All right, everybody. It was a nice little break here. Learned our anime origins. We talked a little bit about Burn the Witch. We talked a little bit about some Bleach, all that sort of wonderful, beautiful shiznit. We hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, be sure to subscribe, do all that wonderful stuff, and return next week because it'll be that bang bang double feature of episode 14 and 15 of the final season of Attack on Titan. So do not miss that. We love you. We'll leave you. Goodbye.